Is it awkward shooting intimate scenes?
Who have made their first films with credit card, I don't know, you sell your car.
These careers are made of no's.
So,
That's crazy.
yeah. It's like she jumps on you, you put the arm, and then you kiss.
Welcome, Pablo, to the show. We're super excited to have you. Now, tell us a little bit about how you started your career as a film director.
Yeah, well, thank you, Valeria, for having me here. I'm a film director, and I started almost when I was almost born on a theater stage.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, so that's true.
Okay, tell us that story.
My mom is a famous actress in Mexico, and she was an immigrant. She came from Argentina to Mexico, and she was young. She was starting in this career that are difficult careers.
Yeah.
And in theater there is this saying that, well, my dad, who was also an actor, used to say, like, you can never miss a play as an actor.
Okay.
You can never.
Right, because no one knows what that's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Right?
The only reason is that you are dead. But
That's
you
good.
have to come with the death certificate.
So they can let you go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really like there's a big, they take it very seriously. You can never miss your play as an actor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So my mom was 7 months pregnant. Okay, and
She was on stage.
she was playing. She was on stage. So she was going to the theater. She was driving, and then the fountain broke. And she was getting to the theater, and she wanted to just not go to the hospital, but to the play.
No way.
And then her mates, her actor mates, had to convince her to go to the hospital because she was like, no, I need to play.
I had to play first, and then I'm gonna give birth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and then
crazy.
It's like if she would have said like, no, I'm staying, then I would have been born in the
You would have
stage.
been, literally on the stage.
On the stage. So I think that's like a good way to start in the business.
Yeah.
And then from there, even since I was a child, I used to have with my dad like a radio show, like a storytelling radio show. When I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, I was really, really young.
And you did the storytelling.
Yeah, with
as well.
my dad
Okay.
together. I was playing like the kids and the little animals and all of that, and my dad was playing the rest of the characters. Like together we were playing, I was really a little kid, And then from there I played in theater plays. I also was a star in a telenovela when I was 12 or 13 years old.
Okay, as an actor.
As an actor.
Okay.
And then I started doing my own little films when I was also like 12 or 13 years old. And then I also like music. I love music as well. So I was always doing like a little bit of music, a little bit of filmmaking. And so, I don't know, it was something that was ingrained in my education. And it was also something that I did naturally since I was a little kid. And then it was something that at some point in my life I decided, why fight it?
You're already into this.
Yeah. And I love it.
So right now we're located on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
The famous place with these amazing stars on the floor. My first question that comes to mind as a tourist in this location, why is Hollywood so unkept, even though it is so praised?
Well, I guess that it has to do first that there's a lot of tourists. And so these places like, I don't know, Union Square in New York, all these places, normally there's so much traffic and so much people walking over that it's not so simple to keep them clean. And there's also like a big economy of, I don't know, street vendors, people doing street shows. and I don't know, there's like a lot of things that are happening in the actual ground, you know. So I guess that's one part of it, and then the next one is that at some point, I think after the Mason killings, the stars decided to move outside from Hollywood. So Hollywood became more of an icon than a place where actually stars live or films are made. It's more like the name, you know?
Right. And a lot of the stars don't live here.
Yeah, most don't.
It's all. What is left in Hollywood after they left?
Well, I think some of them do live in the Hollywood Hills, but it's more than. I think the name for people is very enticing because it has a very, very long history. You have the Kodak Theater. Well, it's not called the Kodak Theater anymore. The Dolby Theater, where the Oscar ceremonies take place. You have several places that are very iconic to film history, but in general, it's more like a landmark for tourists than like let's say that all the industries around Hollywood, but not right in Hollywood. Yeah.
Where do the stars live?
I think most of them live in Malibu or in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
Yeah, or the Palisades, that area, like far away.
Far away from this.
Exactly.
What's the difference between a producer and a film director?
Marco, my producer friend, puts it in a very producer friend and partner puts it in a way that makes a lot of sense. It's like the director is the chef, and the producer will put the kitchen, the knives, the ingredients, that there is fire in the stove, like put everything that you need so you can come and cook. You know? So that's a little bit the difference. Like the director needs all these creative elements to make something, and the producer is the one who is in charge of having all those elements there for the magic to happen.
Who has more power?
Depends on the project. There are some projects that are more director based, and other that are more producer based. So it depends a lot on the project. And I guess that you can say that in a film, like in a traditional film, the director is like everybody is working to fulfill the director's vision, you know?
So I think that people don't have a clear idea of how film is funded and how people make money off of film. So I think these two things, we go to movie theaters, we watch movies, we are always watching on Netflix, but none of us actually have a clear idea of where the funding comes from and how you guys make money off films. So tell us those 2 points for people who want to know it clearly and understand it.
You have to plan the film before you even start writing the script. You know? So once you have a clear idea, okay, so I'm aiming for this, then you write the script and you think it as a project, you know, like any project. It's a project, any business project. And then from there, you start to seek funding or seek people who could be interested in being part of this. Maybe it can be an investor who you say, okay, you need to make like a business plan, treat it as a business. Like this is a business and I plan it to be, I don't know, $1 million, but I think we could sell it for this and that, and you can make twice your money. And then you have to go through a process of either finding an investor or finding someone who's interested in that project. It could also be a platform, for example, or a TV channel, or depends on the country. In the States, it's not very common, but in many other countries, the governments support.
Government funds.
Yeah, there's
Movies.
A lot of government funds. So you have to you can apply to those. There's a lot of government funds, for example, in Europe. They have a lot of different funds for filmmaking. It's only that, I don't know, you need a producer for that. You know?
A good one.
Exactly. A good one who understands how these funds work. And what do you need to ask, or how do you make the paperwork for the project to have the best chances of being approved, or what elements do you need? And you start to somehow make sense of the project and make it something that could make sense to whoever you are asking money to.
So let's just make it clear, if I was to go and start a project for a movie in America, where we don't have government funding, like other countries do. For example, would it be investors, private investors, and then partially from the bank? Those are pretty much the two options that we have. Or maybe my grandma can also fund my film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the three options we have.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who have made their first films with credit cards. I don't know, you sell your car. There's weird stories of people who have gone through medical tests just to save money, because when you do medical tests, they pay you a lot of money. I know.
Oh, yeah. To get funding.
Anything. So, but yeah, basically, it's like any business that you want. If you want to open a restaurant, you will have to, I don't know, maybe you get part from the bank, you get a loan for buying equipment, or you get some funding from an investor who you say, well, I'm planning to make this burger joint right to the beach, and it's a place with a lot of traffic, and I'm sure we can make, I don't know, 200 burgers that day, and that will give you this. You have to make a business plan, and then just go and ask people with money to fund you, and then that's a way. And then of course there's the other way that is like more the industrial way, that is like there's a studio, or there's a platform, or there's someone who already is planning to make films because they already have the funding. Let's say Netflix or HBO or Paramount or Sony or any of these big names. They already gonna make a lot of films. So they also sometimes fund films, they get a script that they like and they say, oh, who's the filmmaker? Let's do this. So that's another way of making it. But that's more, let's say, reserved for people who is already in the business. That's something harder for someone who just
someone who's new.
And in those type of projects, then yes, there's a lot of, they are putting the money and they are expecting something, and they have a lot of control. It's not that they just give you the money and just go and make your film and call me when you're done.
Yeah. These investors do have a lot of control.
I mean, when you're working with a studios or all of that, because it's more of an industrial system of creating films.
Does a filmmaker need to be in Hollywood in order for him to be successful?
I think no, because we're living in a time where everything happens online, right?
Yeah.
So you really can do like 90% of the work at your place anywhere in the world. However, there's like this small percentage that you can do only here. That is this community of artists, and it's also that the agents, the studios, the producers, a lot of people is here. So it's a good place to mingle with. If you live here for a few months, you will start to meet a lot of people that are related to the industry. And then that can help you a lot when you're starting, especially if you come from a little town far away. But it doesn't mean that it's the only way to make movies or be part of the industry. I don't think so.
How much is the average number a movie costs? How much did, for example, Titanic cost to make?
200 million. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah. But
back in the day too.
Yeah, back in the day. But for example, Lord of the Rings, I think it was 300 million. So it depends on the film, and all those super expensive films, sometimes they flop too. You know? So it's like if you make a film that expensive, it's like very hard to double or triple or 5
that
times
big amount.
But for example, a tiny film, like a tiny horror film that maybe cost $50,000 to make, there are some that have grossed $100 million, you know? So it's like the ROI is huge.
And it varies.
I mean, it's much more risky.
So it sounds like the stock market.
Yeah, exactly. It's much more risky, but also you can make much more money.
So tell us, is it awkward shooting intimate scenes, and how do they work?
Wait, I can tell you a very funny story here.
Everybody, this is something, like you said, classic story that everyone thinks about and it's on their mind. That's why everyone's thinking when they watch movies and they're like, how does that even happen?
Well, I can tell you first, like, the actors need to have they normally have a very physical training. So they are very used to, they understand that touch is, their body is their tool.
Okay.
So they are very used to, in between them, they understand that touching has a different meaning because part of telling a story. So it's not so much about I touch and I feel. Of course, you always feel something because you have nerves, right? But they have a training, and professional actors understand it, and there's a whole technique to make it professionally. You know, it's almost, at some point it becomes almost like an action scene, you know, that it's like she jumps on you, you put the arm, and then you kiss. I don't know, it becomes mechanic, you know, like the feelings are not involved at any moment, you know, because everything is staged, and that's a professional way of doing it. But I will tell you a funny story. Like, at the beginning of my career, I was doing telenovelas. Okay, so because I'm from Mexico City, and we have a huge industry of telenovelas, and telenovelas are great. They are amazing. How to say? For me, it was a great school because I had to shoot a lot of hours, and I had to shoot with 3 cameras and very quick, and to tell a story and make it work, and actors and a huge team. It was a great experience. Okay, so I was doing this episode for this. And they send me the script, and I say, oh, it's this older couple. Okay, it's like an older couple, and they come together again or whatever, and they have this night together. There's like this love scene involved. Of course, you won't show anything because it's TV, but of course there has to be interaction and stuff. And they say, do you like the story? And I say, yeah, of course, let's do it. And they say, well, because my mom is an actress. Okay. You remember, and so they told me, we were thinking of that your mom plays that part.
And what did you say?
And I was like, what?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And then I was like, sure, why not? I mean, as I told you before, it's a professional thing, you know? And so we were laughing so much, you know? It was such a cool experience to do it. I mean, they were all professionals, and we were all professionals, but anyway, it was a very awkward situation.
Did you look at your mom different after that?
Yeah, it was
like I didn't want to see that, but okay.
It was a lot of fun, to be honest. I know we laughed a lot, but of course it was awkward. So yeah, it was funny. It was very funny.
So there's this kind of myth, maybe from centuries before, that goes around that in order for women to get good roles, they had to sleep around with either the producers, directors, people who have authority and have connections.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, and is that true?
I think it in the past. Well, I think of course it was true. It doesn't mean that it was the only way. I know a lot of people who made their careers without sleeping with anyone, but it was a possibility. You could, as a man or as a woman, you know, use that to your advantage. You know, you could. However, I think that nowadays, because of everything that has happened, everybody will be way more careful to use that as a producer or as an actor or as a young actor or as a young actress. You know, because right now, maybe in the past, somehow, for some reason, actors and the film industry or the theater industry was seen a bit as an immoral thing.
Right. Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, it was more like it was seen as all these artists or all these comedians, or you know. it was more like somehow they were outside. You know, they were not people of good somehow. You know, it was
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
by many traditionalists, they were seen as I don't know, people without moral or without, you know. So I guess that because of that, there was in part a section of the industry that worked in that way. But I wouldn't say that at any given point it was the only way to make a career. It was a way, but it was also something that could backfire to you, right? So I don't know. Even as a producer, if you wanted to take advantage of someone, or as an actor or as an actress, you wanted to take advantage of your physicality to get something. In both situations, I think is something that at some point could backfire, right? And today is something that I think is completely out of the question. I don't know. I think that somebody would have to be very, very, very naive to think that they can get away with something like that, you know? I think that somehow the business has become way more professional now. And so everything that you do, and of course also because of social networks, and there's no privacy anymore. So I don't think that if you do something that is wrong, you can be naive enough to expect to get away with it. So I think nowadays is much more uncommon.
So in the past years, there has been a lot of news about sexual harassment allegations for Weinstein.
Yeah, especially for Harvey Weinstein,
Yeah.
He was I don't know, he had a very, they were at some point in the Hollywood history, they were almost like the gods of Hollywood. You know, there's a lot of classics that happened either because of them or went through their hands. There's so many titles that you wouldn't believe that somehow became what they are thanks to them. But there's all these books and all these stories and people saying that their way of working was maybe abusive, or that they were crossing the lines all the time. And that's a little bit what we were speaking before, that yes, you can be crazy to a point, or but you have to be professional. There are lines that you cannot cross. And I feel that even though they were a very important part of our industry, at some point they had so many Oscars that you wouldn't believe. Their films have so many Oscars, but they crossed too many lines, and at some point that came back to bite them, right? So Harvey right now, I'm not sure exactly what's the legal stance, but I know that he was in jail and he's facing a trial, or he already faced a trial. So they are going through very hard times because, I don't know, somehow they made it too personal and they crossed too many lines. And in the end, as we said, this should be also a business, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess they crossed too many lines and somehow they are paying for that.
So you think that no matter what, if you're going to be crossing lines or trying to get away with certain things, it's going to come to light later?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe at the moment you are so powerful or whatever that somehow you find a way to cover it, but I don't think that's a correct way of conducting any business.
Yeah.
You know, like your personal taste or whatever you like in your personal life shouldn't be translated to your career, whatever it is.
What are the genres that do well in America?
Uh,
For film.
I see. The genres that are normally more popular are dramas, action, horror, comedy sometimes, but normally when they have name actors. And that also happens normally with dramas, you need name actors, but horror films and action films are normally easier to sell because the genre in itself has a huge market in the States and internationally.
Why are so much movies with basic plots that occur over and over again get so much views and are so popular? So, and for example, Marvel is a series of similar storylines that are occurring. For example, on top of that, Fast and Furious. There are a number of movies, and they're very similar in plots, pretty much. It's just something and they keep on making them. And why are they? And they're still popular. Yeah. So why is that?
Exactly. The thing is that we as audience, we somehow prefer something familiar than something completely different. You know, if you know the kind of film you want to see that evening.
That's true.
You feel like, oh, I want something more cozy to be home and that I feel good at the end. You already have a feeling of what you want. Or I want something cool, especially as guys, something that is, I don't know, that has a lot of actions and hot girls, and I already know what I want. So the thing that happens with these franchises is that you already know what you're getting. If you are going to see the next Fast and Furious, well, maybe the plot could be worse or better, or this time they didn't nail it so good or whatever, but you already go for something that you are expecting, and you are going for an experience that you already know that you're gonna get. So that's why for studios they are very good propositions, because it's very easy to market them. They already have an audience. There's a lot of people who know what a James Bond film is.
Yeah.
So if you are in a James Bond mood, then, well, that's the film you have to watch. But then it's very hard to market a film that nobody knows anything about it, that it doesn't have a familiar face, that the genre is not very clear, that, for example, that's what happened also with genre films, like horror films or action films, or because the genres, we all know what a monster film is. If there's a monster in the cover, then you know that you will get some scares and there will be this creepy creature happening, even if it's not a famous creature, but you already know a little bit what's going to happen. So then it's much easier to find an audience for that film. So that's why these formulas keep repeating, because we need them as audience.
Tell us a difficult part of your career that was just hard. Maybe it was the first time when you were filming or trying to get actors together, some difficulties that you faced, and like what were those hardest moments for you?
Yeah, I think there's the thing is that these careers are made of no's. Everybody's going to tell you no.
Yeah. Okay.
Every time you ask for something, the answer is no. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. If you want to work in the industry, no, you can't. You don't have enough whatever. No? Or I want my film to be in this festival, no. Or I want this big name actor, or I want this money, whatever. Yeah. Or I want this person to be involved. The answer is no. So you have to somehow have a very thick skin and be very clear of that you don't do this for anyone else, but for yourself, and because you think you are bringing value to society by doing what you do. Yeah. And so if you are sure of that, then it doesn't matter how many people say no. But that doesn't mean that when they tell you no, it's easy.
Yeah. To take that no.
Exactly. You say, okay, no, well, okay, fine. Then I'll,
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, no, sometimes you feel disappointed.
So you feel disappointed or you feel frustrated. But in the end, I guess that these careers are about passion. And if you don't have the passion, then it's very easy to give up.
Yeah, on the first try.
Or maybe you will say like, okay, I will try once or twice, but at some point you say, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's, like, why am I?
What are you fighting for?
Yeah, what I am fighting for instead of, I don't know, doing something else that brings me more money.
Money and is easy.
Easier. Yeah. So it's something for someone who's really passionate about it.
So I know that you're saying is that there was lots of no's and there was lots of difficulties, but can you give us a story about one that stands out to you?
Yeah, well, of course I can tell you. When I was going to start shooting my film, Influencia, it's a feature film. Before that, I had to write 4 scripts from beginning to end. That never happened.
That's crazy.
Okay, we never shot them. And to write a screenplay, it takes you anything between 6 months and a year. You know, it's a lot of work. And then just to have them in your drawer.
Just to have it in your drawer, yeah,
you know?
That's crazy.
And then, so at some point I had this script for Influencia that I said, okay, this film, I made it specially so I don't need a lot of money to make it. So I will write this script so it doesn't matter who tells me no. Anyway, I am able to go and shoot it.
Yeah.
You know? And so when we finally had the script, I went to the usual suspects, the people that I know, my producers back then, and they all saying, oh yeah, well, the thing is that normally they won't tell you no. They will say something like, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see, okay.
You see?
That's it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
And so, but I wasn't not taking a no or a we'll see for an answer anymore. So I decided to put my own money and to make my own film with my own rules.
Right.
And then after I overcame that difficulty or that obstacle with my own means and my own will, and it was like, I'm going to make this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
No matter what.
No matter what, I don't care. Yes, no, if you have time or no, I don't care. I'm gonna make it. Yeah. And then after that, everybody was like, "Oh, but I always wanted to help.
We want to help you now."
So I think that the for me the learning was that you don't need to ask permission to anyone.
Yeah.
Whenever you feel you have the right product, idea, script, you just have to go and do it.
Yeah.
And then if it's meant to happen, it will happen, because the projects somehow are like a wheel, and when the wheel starts turning, then things start happening, and then that's where the magic happens.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so I would say that that story of Influencia for me is very iconic because I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And it was a difficulty that I overcame, but it was after I said, okay, I don't care. I will save money for a year or whatever, and then I will put all the money that I have.
Risk it all.
Yeah, to risk it all. And then after that, I mean, I thought that I was going to make a $50,000 film, and in the end, it ended. It was a $400,000 film. Not because I had all that money, but because I had the drive, and then I found a way to get the rest of the money.
To make it work.
Yeah.
What do you suggest to somebody who's starting off and wants to be a film director? What is your advice or even your formula to be successful director?
As a director, I would say directors have to find their own voice, because as a director, in the past it used to be that if you had the technical skills to direct, because it requires some technical skills, then that was not enough, but that was a good start. But now we live in an era where everybody is making videos. Everybody nowadays, or not everybody, but a lot of people is doing it in a competent way. There's a lot of people who can operate a camera, a lot of people who can create a fairly reasonable looking video. So like the technical aspect is not in your favor so much anymore. So more than ever is more about your voice, more about your stories, more about your ideas. What do you have that is different to the rest? So I believe that the best advice is just to create, just to keep on creating. Whatever is the stories you want to tell, and don't stop because of
if you don't have money to create huge films, it doesn't matter. Nowadays, the tools are very much within everyone's grasp. Maybe you won't have like the big things, but you don't really need them to tell stories. So I would say if you want to be a director, just direct and try to find your voice and try to express your stories. Write your stories, or if you don't want to write, you should. But if you don't want to, find the stories that you want, or partner with the people that you want. And also that, like, find your team, find the people you want to work with, find your producers, the producers that believe in you, who believe in your vision, who are willing to risk their time. Maybe they don't have money, but they have time. They are willing to risk their time in your stories to come and help you materialize those visions. And also actors, art directors, DPs, all the team that is needed, So that's the advice, like practice and find your team.
Is there any advice you wish to tell your younger self?
My younger self?
Yeah.
Like, I would say to my younger self, I think the same. Like, don't waste so much time doing elementary jobs. We all need to live from something, and I've been living my professional life doing a lot of advertising, and don't get me wrong, I love advertising. It's really cool. You have a lot of like a chance to experiment and to try things, and maybe there's a lot of expensive equipment that you will never have for yourself to try out.
Yeah.
And when you're doing advertising, you can say, wow, I want to try this, I want to try that. So it's also a great opportunity, but don't let that control your creative life or your life as a director. Like, do that, yes, of course, because we need to live from something, but also always find the time to do your stories and to keep releasing content that shows who you are and the stories you want to tell.
Yeah, same thing with like what I think any like creator in general. It's like if you're always going to be doing things that you just lose that interest in that, because when you're doing something you really enjoy, you start to spark again, and you have like that energy, and you want to wake up in the morning to do your film or to work on a new project. But when you're doing things, you're like the systematic, it becomes a job, and you don't enjoy it anymore.
Exactly. Somehow you have to find a way to not
balance.
To not make a job out of your passion.
Yes.
And of course, it's a job too, and it's it's not a hobby.
Yeah.
So you have to make money out of it, but anyway, you have to keep it as a passion and not just something that you just wake up and do and you hate it now because it's nothing creative for you there anymore. So just to try to find that balance and risk. Sometimes you have to just risk it. Say, well, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I really need to do it.
Can you give a life hack to those who are listening?
A life hack? Yeah, of course. I would say that there's a life hack that I love, that is try to come up with new ideas every day. Just like new ideas. Like today I want to think of 5 ideas for a new short film. And just force yourself to be creative. I want to write, this week I will write an article for a blog. Like, force yourself, because when you force yourself to be creative, then things that you are not expecting will come. Maybe you will find yourself that in the beginning there's always this resistance, but once you overcome it, and it's like, oh, this is not so bad, I can do it. It's only that I need to force myself a little bit. So always find like small, not like the huge thing that will take forever, but small things, maybe list five ideas, or write a short film for a week in the next month, or whatever. Like, find little challenges that you can do all the time.
Every day.
Yeah.
We're gonna do lightning questions to end the interview, and these are just gonna be quick questions, and you just need to answer them. That's really fast.
Yeah.
Money or morals?
Morals.
Netflix or cinema movie theater?
Cinema movie theater.
DiCaprio or Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt.
Nicole Kidman or Angelina Jolie?
Nicole Kidman.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Tarantino or Scorsese?
Scorsese.
Okay. That's it.
That was fun.
We did it!
Well.